From kindergarten until 6th grade, most of us Stowites attended the same elementary schools. We knew those places like the backs of our hands, and life during school time was mostly a matter of jumping through the hoops until the buses arrived. However, 7th grade was a completely different matter, and one that introduced apprehension to the curriculum. All of us who had previously identified as Woodlanders or Fish Creekers or Indian Trailers or whatever were now headed towards the one middle school to rule over all, otherwise known as KIMPTON. Preparing to go to KIMPTON Middle School was the first inkling that recess as we knew it was indeed over. Like a lot of other middle schools of its time, KIMPTON subdivided its 7th and 8th grade students into instructional teams. For students, this meant that we would be taught most of our subjects by the same 4 or 5 teachers assigned to our team. The team streams would rarely be crossed. I may have spent 7 long years at Woodland with a guy on Team 7-1, but from this point on I was a member of Team 7-2. And who knows what sort of shocking pagan rituals those 7-1 types performed on warm weekend nights. I had my own suspicions on how these teams were selected, but nothing I could actually prove at the time. KIMPTON was much larger than the narrow halls of Woodland, and its immenseness was not lost on a small potato like me. We would all congregate in the cafeteria area just before classes began, and the first few weeks were usually spent looking for anyone, anywhere who used to attend the same elementary school we did. But that summer between 6th and 7th grade seemed to have an effect on many of us. Yes, I did go to that much smaller elementary school in an entirely different city with that guy over there. But that's where the similarities now ended. We were all KIMPTONites now, a young adolescent example of e pluribus unum. It was now all about the team. What team are you on? Who's on our team? I hope that kid isn't on my team. KIMPTON was the opening 2 years of the 222 educational top or bottom or top schizophrenia that defined Stowe's philosophy on higher learning for decades. Speaking of educational philosophy, one of my teachers at KIMPTON explained the underlying concept behind the apparent madness of the team teaching system. KIMPTON was built at a time when a behavioral psychologist named Maslow was the man of the hour. Maslow, unlike his draconian predecessor Benjamin Skinner, believed that students, like all of God's children, learned best when their basic human needs were met. Maslow developed a triangular chart that listed the hierarchy of needs, from the concrete items such as food, water, and shelter, to those more esoteric needs such as peace, love, and understanding. Maslow was obviously a pinko and a hippie, but I digress. Once a person had all of these needs met, which could take an hour or a lifetime, then he or she would enter a nirvana-like state called self-actualization. A self-actualized middle school student was a happy middle school student, and much less likely to become a burden on local taxpayers years later. In order to follow the path of self-actualization, a student at KIMPTON should have felt free to explore his or her outside environment without getting so hung up on society's rules, man. In reality, we still needed hall passes to meet a few basic human needs. Maslow conveniently left off the chart. We didn't go to the establishment's library, with its buzz-killing due dates and repressive Dewey Decimal System. Instead, we went to the IRC, the Instructional Resource Center. The IRC may have had the trappings of the man's library, but we were free to explore our literary space at our own pace, and we liked it that way.